Hi, I'm Phil from Waypoint Overland, and you're listening to Random Waypoints. All right, so here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Random Waypoints podcast. We'll be doing an episode every week, so like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss an episode. This week, we have my co-host, Michael Ladden, and special guest, Candi Skehan, better known on social media as Chicks Do It Too. Welcome to the show, Candi.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Before we get into it, I just want to make it clear, this is a privilege, and you are on my bucket list of people to have interviewed, so I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you. The privilege is all mine.
All right. Anything you want to say, Mike, before we get started?
I am good, but I got to tell you, the view here is amazing. Great scenery and a great location as usual, because we like to pick these kind of things for our podcast.
Right. Last time we were in Mexican Hat, I think.
Eastern Utah.
Yep. And now we're here in Cape Ann, Massachusetts, and I think it's gorgeous here. So let's jump into this. You ready for us, Candi?
Hit me.
We're going to attack you.
It's going to be brutal.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
So let's just start from the beginning.
Okay.
Where were you born and raised?
I'm originally from Ocala, Florida, and I was half raised there and until we moved to Las Vegas. So I currently live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I love it there. And
did you grow up off-roading or traveling?
Yes, I did. I absolutely did. My dad was an avid outdoorsman. He owned a Jeep, which he swears that I stole at 16. An event that I don't recall, but he swears that I did that. I brought it back filthy, and he was very upset with me. But yeah, I grew up off-roading, and in high school I started with friends. We actually had a group of people that had different vehicles. We had a friend with a Chevy Blazer. Our favorite was the CJ5 that we had, though. It was a 73 CJ5. And that was a lot of fun, and we were off-road every chance that we got, mostly at night because we would go after school. So I bought my first Jeep at 18 years old, brand new off the lot, because I didn't know how to fix a car, so I couldn't buy an old one. What did I know about mechanics? Nothing. So I bought my first Jeep, and with paper plates on it, I took it off-road, and it's been, I'm on Jeep number 6 now. But I've always had 4x4s. I've had Toyotas, Nissans, and we've always had a 4x4 in the garage, always.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell our audience what you do.
Actually, I'm a trail scout for Trails Off-Road and a writer for Trails Off-Road. Other than that, I travel about a third of the year on the road, which I really love. I've been to places like the Arctic Circle, through the majority of Canada, and all 50 states in the United States.
I love it. And what did you do before?
I'm a housewife.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you currently travel with who?
My dog. I have a 100-pound Doberman named Duke, and he is my travel buddy. He is my ride or die.
Okay. So we want to make it clear, you're a solo traveler.
Yes, I am. I am a solo traveler.
And we're going to dig into that too.
Okay.
So how did you get started solo traveling like this?
My daughter grew up, she got married, and it was either sit around and watch the paint peel or do something that I hadn't done before. I pretty much dedicated my life to my family, and I didn't really do a whole lot for myself, so I thought, my responsibility to my daughter now that she's grown and married, that's pretty much done. For now. She doesn't need me home every single day to watch over her anymore. So I hit the road. I chose some exotic locations, and exotic for me. I had never really been to too many places. So for me, everywhere was awesome.
So you said you were a housewife, which is a deep, long, heavy commitment. Mm-hmm. Take us through the process from transitioning from that to empty nester to being on the road.
Wow. So my first solo trip was about 3 weeks long, a little more than 3 weeks. And I came all the way to Acadia National Park. I just decided I wanted to pack up and head to Acadia National Park. It sounded great. And a national park is kind of it's a safe space. You get to a real campsite, and you have bathrooms, facilities, and things like that. I had done very little backcountry at that point. So this just seemed like a really safe thing to do. Although across the country, I don't know how safe that was.
Well, I was going to say so your first trip was across the country.
Yeah.
Vegas all the way to Maine.
Yeah, and I cried for the first week. I did, because I missed my family, and there is an emotional side to solo travel that a lot of people don't talk about, or they don't realize whenever they first start out. And I didn't expect it, and it was surprisingly emotional.
Well, we're headed to Overland Expo, where we're going to just see a plethora of different types and variety of vehicles. My question to you is, how did you choose your choice in rig?
So we started out in 1999. We had RVs. We bought RVs, and we had 3 of them over a period of about almost 20 years. And I wanted something that I could manage independently. So I started with our pickup truck. We have a Ram 1500, and I just threw a tent in the back and went to campgrounds and set the tent up and tented it for a while until I made, other decisions. I was just trying to decide what I wanted to do. So I did that for a while, and then I purchased my first 4-door Jeep, which was a 2015 Jeep Wrangler, and I just laid the seats down, put a camping air mattress down, and slept in the back. And that's whenever I came to Maine for 3 weeks, that's what I did. So it wasn't fancy, and it was very affordable and convenient.
Well, me and Mike are always discussing that we don't want this podcast to always give a rosy-colored perspective on things. Mm-hmm. Take us through some of the obstacles that you had to overcome. We have a similar story. We're both married. We travel solo. Take us through some of the obstacles to getting where you've gotten now, if there were any.
Obstacles as far as like breakdowns and things like that?
Transitioning, letting your partner know what your next move was going to be, getting them to cooperate, whether it's a financial challenge, whatever obstacles you had.
So it became about my husband's comfort level, about how comfortable he was about letting me go somewhere by myself, because I just never done anything like that before. We had always been together in the RV and things like that. And then I just decided to throw everything in the car and take off. And he just looked at me. He kind of chuckled at me too. I said, I'm going to be gone for about 3 weeks. He's like, oh, okay. And then, so whenever I'm here in Maine, after I was done boo-hooing my eyes out the very first week, I got really comfortable. And I was talking to a bunch of people because, people are always asking, you're alone. I mean, don't you get lonely? No, I don't get lonely. I talk to everybody. I talk to the gas pump attendant. We just strike up a conversation if there's no line. And I'm a lot friendlier on the road, to be perfectly honest. I like who I am. Whenever I'm at home, I'm very protective of my space. That is my space, and that's how I feel about it. So being on the road, I am a much more open person. So I talk to everybody, and I enjoy it. So I was talking to people, and I knew everybody around the campground in Acadia. And I was talking to this really great younger couple who wanted to buy this, a beater trailer and go up to Alaska for about 6 months. So they said, yeah, we really want to experience it and all that. And she was pregnant. And I thought, wow, if they could do something like that, what's preventing me from doing something like that? The same way that I did this, just pack up my dog in the Jeep and go, because I was really enjoying traveling with the Jeep. The Jeep is easy for me to manage, but I really wanted to not have to pull my stuff out at night whenever it was time to sleep in the Jeep. So I added I started actually doing a formal build. I decided the platform that I really, really liked, and that's where my formal build started, was with the decision to go to Alaska. So I called my husband on my way back, and I said, I'm thinking about going to the Arctic Circle. And I could hear silence. There were crickets on the other end of the line. So he said, okay, we'll talk about it more whenever you get home. So I get home and I start planning stuff. And he's like, what you doing? And I said, I'm getting stuff ready for Alaska. And he says, well, when do you plan on leaving? And I said, well, I'm leaving in June. And then it became May. I left just after Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. So, and for a long time, he didn't believe me that I was actually going to do this. he said, what are you going to see? And I said, I'm going to the Arctic Circle. I said, they have a sign there. And what did I know? I didn't know that stuff. In fact, I saw The Road Chose Me. I saw his sign at the Arctic Circle, and I said, they got a sign. There's a sign. So I had to go see this sign up there. And I did a lot more research, and I ended up wanting to see the whole state, and so I did. I was there for about 3 months. But yeah, I outfitted my vehicle with a pop top by a company called Ursa Minor. And I have this little micro camper now that's suitable for myself and my dog. And I didn't have to pull everything out of the Jeep to go to sleep anymore. So that for me was a big deal. But I had a cooler. I just had an Engel roto-molded cooler. And I had to get ice all the time. And I had to budget how far away the grocery stores were from one another, so I could carry about 3, pushing it 4 days worth of food supplies in the Jeep. And that was probably the most adventurous trip of my life up to that point, because I had never really done anything like that ever in my lifetime, ever. I just never had the opportunity. I was busy working all the time before I became a mom and a housewife, and I was working 2 jobs all the time. So I never did anything or saw anything. And so this was a very big deal for me later in my life.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask a question that you've probably been asked a million times, but I want to make sure I do a comprehensive interview. Mm-hmm. Was there a fear factor that you had to overcome? Absolutely. Talk about that.
I have very limited experience traveling abroad. So driving through another country just to get to Alaska, there was a big intimidation factor there. There was always there was also the fact that I have very limited bear experience. I live in the desert. We don't have bears. We don't have bears. We don't have moose, and those are the 2 most dangerous, animals in those areas. So for me, I had to do a lot of research on how to actually deal with those situations should they come up. Plus, I had to also balance that with what am I allowed to take across the line, into the other country. So there was so much research that I did just to figure out not just to what are my fears and how to stay safe, but what am I allowed to bring to make those things all happen together at the same time. How am I going to stay safe? So I learned a lot. That there was a huge learning experience for me, and it really was the adventure of a lifetime. Just because like I said, I'd never been anywhere.
And you say that's 3 months.
Yeah, I was.
How did I got to ask the question though? How did that? I mean, that was 3 months away from your husband. How did he feel about this? Like, how did that interaction go? He
was very nervous about that. He was concerned for my safety because, he's supposed to worry about me. That's his job, is to protect me. And if I'm not with him, how is he supposed to do that for me? So he just had to understand what I was doing and respect what I was doing and roll with it and just trust me. And that was a lot for him. Because, like I said, it's his job, and he takes it very seriously to make sure that I am safe and protected, and he's very good at that. But I just said, you know what, you're just going to have to trust me on this. With my background, I'm able to take care of myself pretty well, and this is something I really need to do. My dad had recently died as well, so I was going through a period of mourning with that. So that played a part in it too. I don't think that after you lose someone and you go through a loss that big that you're in your right mind anyway. Mm-hmm. So I just decided, here we go. Just threw caution to the wind, packed everything up, and off I went. Yeah. So.
And you checked in, I'm assuming, or
yes.
Check in and.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did. I checked in every time, whenever I got phone service and all that. So, but I also, the year that I had the 2015 Jeep actually came with an option where it had a GPS tracking, so he could ping my car. So that was a huge safety feature that gave him a peace of mind. So it could tell him where I was, how fast I was going, in what direction and where. Mm-hmm. So for him, that was a huge peace of mind for him. So yeah, that made him feel a lot better.
Well, you've been traveling for a while now.
Several years, yeah.
A lot of knowledge there.
Yes.
Where can someone get some of that knowledge from you? Do you do any teaching and any instructing?
Over the past couple of years, I've been invited to participate and teach at Overland Expo They're a really great knowledge base with all the people there. In fact, before my Alaska trip, my very first Overland Expo was there to learn more about Alaska, and it was literally a week before I left on my trip. So I went to Overland Expo, which was in Flagstaff, Arizona. This was in 2018, and I paid to camp and all of that, and I attended all the classes, and I just I took it all in, and then went back home, refined some of my packing and things like that, and I left. But yeah, since then, I've really done a lot more traveling. I've refined the equipment that I use, and I'm able to pass that knowledge on to people at Expo, which I really, really enjoy doing it, because I remember how difficult it was to get the knowledge. I resorted to things like YouTube and the internet, but nothing can prepare you for what Alaska really, really is. It really is something that it's never anything like what anybody tells you. Everybody has a completely different experience, which you know because you just got back. And I know, Michael, you've spent some time there too, and it's got to be different. You've been twice, and I can't imagine both times being the same exact experience.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I do. I enjoy passing on all of the knowledge that I have accrued, and giving people the confidence and the education to pursue that, to make that first step forward.
So talk about the importance of training. You know, like you're teaching classes at Overland Expo, and we're always hammering people with the idea, hey, get out as soon as you can, but get as much education as you can. How do you feel about educating yourself before getting out? So
the overlanding part is the only thing that was new to me. I have a tremendous background in off-roading. And day, night, rocks. Vegas is a very underrated off-roading destination, and that's where I learned. And so anything, basically, the only thing that I really was challenged at, that I was very skeptical about doing too much of, was big water crossings. That was honestly my biggest concern was, okay, what about big water? How willing am I to go into big water, and how do I deal with that? So I actually did a lot of research about that and watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to approach those situations, because I knew it was a very real possibility, because Alaska is so wild, and it's got it all. It has everything. So you just, you really educating yourself. Depending upon the circumstances you will potentially find yourself in, be that animal encounters or off-roading extensively, emergency situations. Okay, so let me tell you, I'm a survival nerd. I know how to start a fire. I can do it with a spark, and I've been doing it for years. And but I know a lot about. I have a good background in survival just because I was always in the backcountry. So definitely learn about some survival skills. There's basic things that you do need to know in order to, what if your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere and you can't hike out for 20 miles, and you just have to sit and wait until morning. You need to survive at least that one night first. And if you don't know how to do that, then they're going to find your body.
It's the whole thing we always talk about. It's like you can carry all sorts of gear, but you have to know how to use it before you leave.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with knowledge. If you've got to learn it before. Learning as you go is not the way to do it.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I think that educating yourself is paramount. Before you put that light bar on your vehicle, learn about what you're trying to do first. I think that educating yourself is so important.
So if I were going to come to Overland Expo next week, tell me 2 classes. I'm a complete newbie. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take 2 classes. Give me 2 classes I should take, or I might take.
Well, that depends on what you decide that you're trying to do. If you're a solo traveler, there's the Art of Solo Travel. That's a really good round table. I really like the round tables that they offer because it's several different perspectives on one particular location or one particular subject. So I really highly encourage you to look at the round table list. I also encourage you to talk to the people in the DIY sections. There is so much knowledge in there, not just from the perspective of building out, but these people have experience. And the reason that they've built their rigs out is because of the experiences that they've had. So yes, as far as specific classes, there aren't, because they do I know they try to change up their classes a lot, but the two areas that I do recommend that you focus on, I would focus on talking to people in the DIY, pick their brains, figure out why they did what they did, because maybe they've done the same thing that you're looking to do, or maybe you like that piece of kit that they have in their vehicle and you're wondering, did you build that? Did you buy that? Tell me where in the vendor's area I can get that. Tell me who I need to talk to from you. And then the round tables. I love the round tables. So those are the two areas that I would recommend you looking at all the schedules for.
So the three of us, we've been camping in Cape Ann the past few days. We've been feasting. We've been sitting by the campfire.
Maybe a little bit too much feasting.
So I know everybody here likes to eat, so this should be a great topic here. And I already have experienced that you can cook.
Thank you.
So you've got some friends coming to your campsite. What's your meal that you cook to impress?
I don't have a lot of friends visiting me on my campsite, but the go-tos would be...
Well, when Phil and I come over.
When Phil and you... Okay, let me tell you. Bone-in ribeye with chimichurri.
Okay.
That's an impressive meal. So you're talking about to impress, that's got flavor, that's got presentation, that's got everything. So yeah, that and baked potatoes. Because I think baked potatoes are pretty easy to do, and all of it you can cook over top of a campfire. You don't need anything special to do any one of those meals. And definitely, who doesn't like steak and potatoes, right?
So tell, what is your... what are your equipment that you use to most of your cooking? Like, what is the assortment of things that you carry to produce what you want to eat?
So for years and years and years, I have carried an MSR stove. That's it. It's like a jet boil, but mine's a pocket rocket, and a 5-inch cast iron cooking pan, because you can't really fry an egg on titanium. Titanium is so difficult to use outside of boiling water and reheating stews and things like that. So I've always used cast iron. That's what I use at home. So I'm very comfortable with it. So that I've had for years and years and years. My latest upgrade that I'm really, really liking is my TEMBO TUSK Adventure Scuttle. That has been such a valuable piece of kitchenware that I wish I would have gotten it sooner. So I do have one other thing that I have in my camp kitchen, and that's my 12-volt trucker oven. Because whenever I did all of my research...
Call it the lunchbox.
It
looks like a lunchbox.
It does. It looks like a lunchbox. Well, but it heats everything from 300 to 325 degrees. You plug it into the 12-volt outlet. You're driving along for 3 hours. You get to camp, and you got stew. And
I love it.
Fresh. That's the thing. I'm an eater. I like to eat, so I keep fresh stuff around. So and it takes longer to cook that way, but I made it happen. And it's not like it's an expensive piece of equipment to have. It's very inexpensive, and that's been something that I've had the entire time as well. So the trucker oven and the stove, and now the TEMBO TUSK Scuttle. I really like that scuttle.
So tell people about the Adventure Scuttle, because most people are probably assuming, a lot of people don't know that there is an Adventure Scuttle. Mm-hmm. They're probably thinking you're talking about the big scuttle. So
the sexy beast. Right.
So tell my audience what an Adventure Scuttle is.
So I've been looking at the scuttle for a couple of years, whenever they first came out, and they came out, with the one product, it was one big one. And I thought, that's really too big, because I'm in a very, it's a conservative size. Okay, my space is at a premium. I need something that is more compact, which is why I went with the MSR stove setup that I've had forever and ever. So I've been looking at my upgrade, and I didn't want one of the big traditional 2-burner stoves. I wanted something, but I wanted something different too, though, because I didn't want to carry around a bunch of pots and pans in addition. So enter the Adventure Scuttle. And I'm talking to TEMBO TUSK. They're great for information, and they told me all about it. Something that I did not know was the type of fuel that is used in the Adventure Scuttle is isobutane, which is the same exact fuel that I use for my MSR. So I don't have to carry more than one fuel source, which for me is very important. I can take the same canister and go from one piece, from one to the other, and I don't have to carry around a bunch of stuff. It's one and done. So yeah, that's why I went with the Adventure Scuttle. Was number one the size, and number two the selling point, which sold it to me, was the type of fuel that it used.
Yeah, and isobutane is very efficient too. It burns super clean. So
yes, it does.
Yeah. And the Scuttle is, that Adventure one is.
It's 12 inches.
12 inches, right?
It's 12 inches, yeah. But you need the lid. The lid, too. I have the lid, and that makes all the difference in the world for cooking everything, because I steam veggies on that and everything without having to use the rack that the big one comes with. But you have to have the lid for those things, definitely.
I think I know the answer, but for our viewers, does your diet change significantly from when you're at home and when you're on the trail? I know mine does, and not for the good.
Well, what I try to do is I try to cook all my food and experiment with it at home and say, can I recreate this on the road? Because I like to be consistent with my food, with my grocery shopping, I try to eat more healthful. As a general rule. So no would be the answer. It's not a huge deal. I will say that I eat better on the road than I do at home, because at home I have, awesome stuff like butter. I really like butter. So, my refrigerator that I have a Dometic refrigerator that I really like. It's only a 25. So it only holds so much stuff. So I have to kind of be very careful about, what I pick and choose. So I go with a lot of salad greens but yeah, because I cook fresh, I do put a lot of stuff in there. So I don't know. I just have to be very careful. But something that actually fits really, really well, the little lamb chops. Little lamb chops, if you like that.
Yes, I love lamb chops. They're
little baby T-bones. Yeah. They fit really well in my tiny little fridge and sear up beautifully in my tiny little, cooking top.
Are there any in there currently?
I wish there was, because, man, we'd be eating it up tonight.
So, talk about your trip that you're currently on. Like we're here in Cape Ann, but let's rewind all the way back to the start and bring us all the way back to here.
Okay. So I started my trip in Colorado teaching at Overland Expo Mountain West. That was at the end of August. I took my time going up to Canada. I wanted to see some stuff and do some hiking and some, all the camping and stuff along the way. I saw some really great things. The goal was to get to Newfoundland, Labrador, and Nova Scotia. That ultimately was the goal, was to do that loop. So hence the reason I'm here right now, because it was a complete and total disaster. Nothing went according to plan, because Hurricane Fiona decided on the day that I was supposed to be at the dock to cross from Labrador into Newfoundland, it decided to hit. And I had to make some decisions, for sure. Does my ego take over and keep going and press forward because I can stick it out and I can wait it out? Well, the circumstances in the weather, whenever I was finally able to find out about the weather, because I had no service, I didn't even know it was coming until I get to Labrador City. I get to where I'm going to camp for the evening, and this nice couple comes up behind me, in their rig when they're setting up, and said, oh, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Where are you going to? And I told them, and they were headed in the same direction. They said, well, we're going to have to make some decisions because there's that cyclone coming in. And I said, wait, what was that now? Could you tell me more about that? Because I had no clue. I was completely clueless. I had already been in Canada for 2 weeks, and I didn't have any cell service. So I was able to get some Wi-Fi in Labrador City and able to finally do some research on the weather apps. And I found out that, it's basically headed straight for us. And the timeline was that I was supposed to be at the dock, ready to board my Saturday morning ferry by Friday night. Well, that happens to be the exact day that Fiona is supposed to hit and make landfall, where I was. So the thought, everything goes through my head. Okay, what are my options here? What do my instincts tell me? What are my options? So I'm going through everything, and I thought, okay, well, if I go as far as, maybe Goose Bay and see if it blows back out to sea, what am I looking at coming back? They were predicting snow for the Labrador area. Not good. That's not good. You don't want to be up there in Labrador in the winter unless you are prepared for it. And here I am in a pop-up camper with limited resources that I can only, sustain myself if I rationed everything, because I thought about this too. If I have to ration everything that I have and all my resources in this vehicle, how long can I last? And the answer is about a week, about 7 days, because you're talking about weather that is, you're talking about, weather in the 20s and in the teens at night. You're going to need some heat on. Plus, my fridge isn't going to keep running forever, so my battery life is only going to be a couple days, so I have to turn on the engine because there's no solar, because there's no sun. So even if you have solar panels, good luck with that. So you're going to have to turn on the engine to recharge your batteries. So I could have done that if I had to for about a week. So fast forward to, I get all my information, and I decide, you know what? This doesn't look good. My instincts are telling me it's time to hustle. So that's what I did. I got the heck out of there.
Hindsight's 20/20, but you made the right call, because it hit. There's been a lot of devastation there,
yes.
And you probably ultimately would have had the ferry canceled due to a bad season and everything anyways.
Oh, the ferry got canceled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Of course. So then you need to be stuck where you are.
Oh, yeah.
One road in, one road out.
That's it. 100%. So, yeah, so sometimes it's difficult, because I've been planning this trip for months now, and I've actually, and it goes back further than that, because I was originally supposed to do Labrador. I did Alaska in 2018, and then I thought, okay, so 2019 I'm going to do Labrador. Well, COVID, yeah. And borders shut down. So the soonest that I could actually go was this year, because they only just opened up the borders again for us. So I go, and then Fiona hits. I don't know. I'll make it there whenever I'm supposed to make it there. I'm going to try again next year. Nobody's going to want to go with me, because let me tell you, I bring a disaster with me everywhere I go, apparently. So yeah, but I'm here talking with you lovely gentlemen now on this beautiful view today because of it.
And we've been following your trip on social media. It was an awesome trip.
Yes.
For the viewers, if they want to see it, it's going to be right down here.
Right,
but tell us where we can find you on social media to follow your travels.
I'm mostly on Instagram. I do a lot of photos, and I am Instagram Chicks Do It Too. I also have a cheesy YouTube where I just kind of try to post things. I don't do a fancy job. I'm not a professional, but it's there, and it's great for information, which is why I do it. So it's out there for you, and it's the same name, Candi Skehan, and it's Chicks Do It Too on YouTube.
And there'll be a link right here, so they'll get all of that. Okay. So what plans do you have for in the future, or do you plan out?
I don't plan too far out. I maybe plan 6 months out at a time. I don't plan years out. I mean, obviously Labrador is still on my list now. Nova Scotia. That's next year. That's probably the furthest plan out that I have right now for obvious reasons. But I'm thinking about a trip to Baja in January. So that'll be a new experience for me too. I've been to Mexico, about 2 or 3 times in my lifetime, but I haven't done the entire Baja Peninsula. And I'd like to go and kick around there for about a month and, see the sights.
Candi, what's your favorite geography?
Style of geography.
Yeah.
I like the rainforest. Tropical rainforest. Yeah, I live in the desert, but I like the tropical rainforests. And
so you got to come see me then.
I love Washington State. I love the whole rainforest. It's fantastic. Every time I'm in that area, I visit and I stay there. Yes, I do. I hang out in the Ho a lot. I love it.
So, give me your top 3 bucket list locations, whether or not you have plans or not, that you'd love to go to.
I do plan...
In a vehicle.
Oh, in a vehicle. Okay. Well, I will say I do plan on traveling the world, and we are doing build-outs in locations. We're going to have a build out to do Europe in, and we're going to do storage and come back and forth with it, because we do have a place that we can store it there. We have friends there and some family. We do want to do Europe by vehicle. I would love to do South America by vehicle as well. But yeah, eventually world domination is the ultimate goal.
Okay. You got anything you want to ask?
No, I think we're fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm always fascinated. The three of us are sitting here, and we all solo travel. So we'll be talking about that going forward, I think, probably in
it's a lot of
our next podcast.
Right. It's a lot of stuff I want to talk about that I'm actually holding back on.
That's right.
Candi, it has been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Will you join us for another?
Absolutely. I'd love to. It's absolutely, you guys are great. I just love it.
All right. Is there anything you want to say?
We'll see you guys all at the next podcast.
All right, guys. You know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.